That's how you do that.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Live. Are we live?
All right.
Doing it live. I gotta change that thumbnail.
Yes,
Yeah,
you
bad,
do.
doesn't it?
Sure. It's not like we have, a show icon you could use or anything.
Well, it used to be that it would just show nothing. It would be like blank. Like,
Can I call out that nothing's not necessarily better?
I thought
Nothing
it was
is still
better.
nothing.
I thought it was better because then after we stopped live streaming, it
Mhm.
would put a thumbnail in there. It would put like a still image from the broadcast, but it doesn't do that anymore.
Really?
Yeah, I have to select the thumbnail out of the 3 little like pre-selects that he gives.
I'm just going to call this out, Ethan. There's
Usually
no effing way we're going through every single game on your We've Been Playing list.
Oh, no. That's
you
fine.
need to start curating that shit, man.
Edit that down to like 3 games.
Yeah, like we don't need to talk about Ninjago the movie.
Yeah, don't talk about that one, except maybe to say that it sucks.
Does it
You
suck?
want to hear?
This
You
is
want to
sketchy.
hear one or two little things? Yes, it sucks. It's terrible.
You have the same. Phil used to have this whole condition too, where he would just write down every game he could think about that in that 5 minutes.
This is every game I played this week.
Yep. There's no time for that.
No
I went and saw the Ninjago movie today.
Yeah, the movie's great. I saw it yesterday.
It was really cute. It was fun.
Very funny. Very sweet. But the game is a piece of shit. The game, when you're playing at least
we haven't even
multiplayer,
started the show yet.
Wow. Yeah.
Okay. We'll wait.
Trying to get the microtransaction talk before the show starts.
Well,
what's
that's
going
one
on,
thing.
man?
There's no microtransactions, so it's at least better than Forza 7.
Save something for the real show, man.
Stuff like that makes people think you're crazy.
I said that to be funny.
Did you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Did you
ready?
wear that outfit to be funny too?
Oh, snap.
All right, then. Let's do this thing.
And that's
What?
our show for
What's
this
so
week.
funny?
Thanks for
What's
tuning
so
in.
funny? I haven't
Nothing.
even said anything. You're already there laughing.
I'm just drinking my Star Fox coffee.
Just going to have a drink of Star Fox coffee there.
What's in that mug? Is it milk? Something like that? Tea?
Tea.
Milk and rum.
Milk. Shut up.
You have had milk in a cup on this show before,
Sure.
right?
Because that's how you drink milk. If you don't
In a
put it
cup?
in a cup, you can't put it in your hand.
You drink it straight from the cow's teat.
Straight from the bag. Straight from the bag, because you have that up there.
We do have bagged milk up here, yeah.
That's right. All right, let's do this thing.
Okay.
Hello and welcome. Okay.
So tetchy.
I know. And you're not I can't just you're not next to me, so I can't hit you.
No.
So there you go.
I mean, all I said was okay.
Seriously, I have stuff to do after the show. Let's
Do you?
Let's speed it up.
Let's go.
Hello and welcome to episode 569 of the Player One podcast for Tuesday, October 3rd, 2017. I'm your host, Chris Johnston. With me, as always, from Canada, Mr. Greg Seward.
Oh,
That's right. That was
Dude,
just for
just-
you, Phil.
dude,
Does
just
it have-
licked his NES Classic.
Does it have the coating that the Switch came
No.
to?
The poison film over it.
I was kind of hoping it would, but it
You can lick that all you want.
Okay.
Well, not during
yeah.
the show, though.
Okay.
Yeah.
Ugh.
And from not California, from Washington.
I moved.
You moved.
I moved a
Mr.
couple months
Phil
ago.
Theobald, hello.
Hey, how you doing? Anything you want me to lick while I'm here?
Well, no.
No.
But there was something I wanted you to lick in Vegas last week.
I got a squishy Metroid here. I could.
That's you biting that. It's not.
God.
That's not.
That's not a
That's
lick.
not licking. Man, I knew. Never mind. I knew somebody who couldn't figure out the difference
The
either.
value on that thing has just gone down, I think, $22.
It might have
Oh.
gone up.
There's nothing worse. There's nothing worse than somebody who bites when they're supposed to lick.
Oh, man, I gotta work on my gag reflex.
And joining us
too.
from the great state of California, Mr. Ethan Einhorn.
Hey there, happy to be back and really nervous to be buying games before reviews come up. I mean, Golf Story comes out and there are no reviews. What do I do? You know, no professional journalist reviews. I had to take a leap of faith, but we'll talk about that in a bit. How
We
you
all
guys
knew you
doing?
would anyway.
You buy it because the trailer was good. It looks,
Yeah.
looks like a fun game.
If you hadn't, I would go with you on that if you hadn't, bought 99% of every Switch game that came out anyway.
Cars
that.
3.
Yeah.
And there were a bunch of journalists tweeting about how good Golf Story was before it actually came out. And granted, there weren't reviews up, but you can pretty much tell it was good. Right?
Yep, it did end up getting a 9 from Game Informer, so my risk
Oh,
profile
well.
was vindicated.
Oh, dodge that bullet.
Man,
There
that was
you go.
close.
Yeah. Hey, how's everybody doing? We're back from Vegas.
Good.
Yeah.
We're all recovered from Scoop Fest.
Is Mike
Well,
showing
for
up
the
for
most
this one?
No.
Nope.
He had
See you guys
about as much
next.
as
See you guys
he
next
did,
week.
Yeah.
You
So
kept presenting yourself to him. He just decided it
Yeah.
was too afraid to come back.
that was quite a stance you had going there
was.
on that.
You
had-
gotta do what you gotta do. You know.
Uh-huh.
If you were
That's
on a
what I
New
was-
York subway, that would have taken up at least 4 seats.
That's called dominating the stage. You got to do that if you want to make a
You
name
wanna
for
be-
yourself.
A success.
For those that don't know what we're talking about, there was a little bit of manspreading going on last
No, there wasn't a
week.
little bit.
A little bit.
There was a little
How
bit
dare
of
you.
man spread.
How dare you?
You could totally see taint.
That was
No, you
Those
couldn't.
pants.
Couldn't.
grinning from ear to ear
Yikes.
In my
Wasn't a
pants.
grin.
in my pants.
Yikes. Well, thanks to everybody who came out to the live show at Scoop Fest, all the scoops who were in the
Did
audience.
you guys
for it.
have fun in Vegas at Scoop Fest?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Hell
I
yeah.
had a great time.
It was
It was
awesome.
out- It was outstanding. The scoops are awesome.
Yeah.
Really good,
Yep.
fun people.
Mm-hmm.
Indeed.
Funny shows.
Yes.
It was great.
A lot of
Look, I'm even wearing my
Oh,
Scoop
hey.
shirt.
Look at this. Look at this.
Are we matching? Are we twinsies?
We're twinsies.
that's
CJ and Phil are
adorable.
twinsies.
Internet high five. Boom.
Yeah,
We did
slap it on some skin, some digital skin.
We did it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks to Matt and Mattingly's Ice Cream Social for inviting us. It was awesome. We were there from Thursday to Monday. It was fantastic hanging out with all the scoops and whatnot. We did the live show, which you heard is the last podcast. We also did a lunch cast
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
with Mike as well. That is up right now. If you are a $5 a month or over patron on Patreon, you can download that, and it'll be in the feed for everybody next Friday or this Friday. This next Friday.
This next
upcoming
Friday?
Friday. Yeah. So that was a lot of fun.
October
to do.
6th. Is that what you're trying to say, CJ?
October 6th. It'll
There
be
you
up
go.
for everybody. Yes.
There it is.
And that was a lot of fun. And
Yes, it
if you ever listened to the Fanboys Lunchcast, I put some stuff on the front and back of that show that you might recognize.
Yeah, that was a nice surprise.
Yeah.
And I got to,
Nice.
check that off the bucket list because I never got to be on the Fanboys before it shut down. So
There you go.
There you go.
I can only assume that they had actually gotten Phil to be the guest on the next episode and it just never happened.
Probably.
Phil
Yeah.
Siegel
I kill
shutting down
podcasts.
magazines and websites.
Kill
and-
podcast.
Yeah.
But you'll want to listen to that show for a very thrilling microtransaction
Oh, God.
discussion
In 2
between
parts.
Ethan
Oh, yeah.
and Mike, where at one point we begged them to stop and then they continued.
Pick it right up again. Yeah.
Right on going.
It was great.
Yeah.
But anyway, that'll be up in the feed on Friday.
You may not
Um,
believe this, but Ethan has something to say about microtransactions.
You know what? Thanks for that segue because we're going to start this episode talking about microtransactions. How
Oh,
about
boy.
that? Greg, you wanna?
I think you guys are getting it wrong. We're actually going to be talking about loot crates
Okay.
and consumables. So
Those
yeah,
microtransactions.
as you listen, if you're not watching this live on the YouTubes, you're probably listening to this on Tuesday, October 3rd, which is the official launch day for Forza Motorsport 7. However, if you were one of the people like me who bought the Ultimate Edition, you actually got your game on Friday, or you could download your game on Friday. And I mean, from a gameplay standpoint, I mentioned this before from the demo last week. The game's awesome. We can talk about that a little bit more on what you've been playing. However, there's been a bit of controversy for two things. One, the lesser controversy is the fact that the game is riddled with loot crates now. Okay. It is the central part of the game's economy. Everything is done through loot crates. You buy them with in-game currency. You can't buy them with real currency as of this recording.
They have committed to doing that though.
Okay, well, yeah, but let me finish. So, as of this recording, you can't. It's just like I got, but no. As of this recording, you can buy them with in-game currency, and they've locked away a lot of content behind those loot crates. Tons of one of the things they're doing is selling what do you call them, wearables for your in-game avatar, so racing suits and things like that.
Okay,
seems to be the only way you can get those is to get them as cards and loot crates,
which is hilarious because you never see the driver ever.
The driver is on every menu screen, so you are completely wrong about that. But
not during the game, though.
In the game, I mean,
well, no, but I mean, it's the way you dress up your. It's like putting a background on a menu. I don't know, whatever you want to call it. Anyway, it's not possible to buy them. You have to get them in loot crates. Okay. Or you get them as extras, downloadables. So, and the other thing is apparently, I don't know this for sure, but apparently they've actually locked away a lot of cars in these loot crates. So it works like any of the loot crate does. You spend a certain amount of currency. The more you spend, the better drop rate you get. And then you get a set of random cards.
That actually, so that with that detail right there, the more you spend, the percentage up, the better stuff you'll get. That is something that you'll find in a lot of mobile games.
Yeah,
but
that's exactly what this is.
I'm not aware of any other console games that do it that way. There may be some free-to-play PC games that do that, but again, those are free-to-play, not paid. But I'm not aware of any like premium game that allows you to do that particular aspect, spend more and have a higher chance of getting something good.
Yep. I'm not either, but I mean, I don't really pay. I mean, maybe it might exist.
Well, bear in mind also NBA 2K18, which is the $60 free-to-play game that's on the market right now, does do the whole thing where if you spend $100 on virtual currency, you get like significantly more currency for what you spend. So it's kind of the equivalent of that in terms of giving you more pulls.
Yep. So the other thing is that, of course, just going back to this, so the Ultimate Edition, so Turn 10 and Microsoft has sold their Forza games in multiple editions for quite a while now. You get the Standard Edition, which is literally just the game. You get the Special Edition, which is the game usually with the day one car pack download for free, and I don't know, like a couple of little bits of extras. The Ultimate Edition, you get that day one car pack, you get the car pass, and then you get what's always been called the VIP, whatever. You're a VIP, basically. And what that normally is meant is that you have a little icon by your name when you're playing online, but it also means that you normally get a credit boost in the game, anywhere from 50 to 100% of credits. And the whole idea being is that way, you can progress faster through the middle of the game, basically. Yep. But it's always just been a setting, right? Like you're a VIP, so that means everything is plus 100%. What Microsoft did, and this is the big controversy, is that Turn 10 didn't talk about this. Microsoft didn't talk about this. Part of the description for the VIP membership, I'm just going to read this. So what the description read right up until the day of release was exclusive when you buy the Ultimate Edition. Exclusive cars, mods, driver gear, and more await with Forza Motorsport 7 VIP membership. Forza Motorsport 7 VIP members receive exclusive VIP cars. VIPs will receive additional benefits, including 100% credit bonus mods, VIP driver gear, and more. So that 100% credit bonus is something that in any previous Ultimate Edition they've ever sold with the VIP pass, which is normally a $20 purchase, is just it's a setting. It's there. It's for good.
It just doubles everything.
It doubles everything. What happened was everybody got their games on Friday and they downloaded the VIP pass and they were presented with 5 cards, VIP credit cards, that are good for 5 races apiece. They're consumable. So you have to equip them as mods which you have 3 mod slots. This is a normal thing. You have 3 mod slots on your car, which includes things like getting bonuses for taking a perfect turn or, a better starting position, stuff like that. But you have to use one of those mod slots in a race and use this card to get your credit bonus. It can only be used 5 times and then it's gone. And you only have 5 of them. So it's only good for 5 races. Or 25 races.
So what to me,
everyone
just an aside, is really nefarious about this also is that it is getting those heavier spenders to begin with, the people who have invested in this package, used to a certain payout right away. And so once you are done with those 25 races getting, the multiplied credit, now you go back to the standard rate, which is going to feel very slow.
Yes. Yeah. Yep. That's exactly what happened. And so Microsoft revised that text, by the way, afterward and said, as well as 5 100% credit bonus mod cards, parentheses, 5 uses each per card.
So it's 5. It's not even 25 uses per card. It's
5 uses per card, and you have.
Holy crap! I thought it was 25 uses.
That's what your $20 got you.
No.
Holy crap!
So yeah, it's
okay.
It's pretty sleazy.
That is super sleazy. I mean, that's not sleazy if it was a free-to-play mobile game. I mean, a little sleazy if it was a free-to-play mobile game. But for a $60, and not even $60 because this is the VIP edition, right?
So it's $100.
This is the $100.
The $100 edition of the game.
Ooh.
You only get those. Each card is for 5 races. That is unbelievable.
Yeah. That's pretty bad.
All the more unbelievable that it's coming from a first party. That's what blows my mind. So like NBA 2K18 is absolutely disgusting, but that's a third party. Nintendo wouldn't do that, even though you can get NBA 2K18 on their machine. The fact that Microsoft will do this is really surprising to me.
The other thing that's surprising is that Forza is one of those franchises for Xbox, right? That is like, it's system exclusive, and people love Forza. I mean, it's on the PC also.
This is a tentpole franchise for the Christmas.
This is a tentpole, and they are putting these microtransactions in there to an unbelievable degree, to the point where it could sully this franchise. I mean, you need this player goodwill because the Forza fans are an important part of the Xbox ecosystem, right? I mean,
okay, and that's kind of what I wanted to get at, because here's the thing, is that microtransactions in a Forza game is nothing new. They've been doing this for a while, but the thing is that, and I think this is also the tragedy of it, because I've talked about this before. Turn 10, you want to talk about a AAA developer, and I mean Microsoft as well, that has been absolutely fabulous when it comes to community and player appreciation. You won't find one better. You feel, you've always, up to this point, you've always felt valued as especially a return customer for them. And I want to call this out, is that one of the other things that it did, like, I mean, when I started, the other thing is when you have the VIP pass, you get like 5 loot crates to start. Right. But what that is actually open those, and you're getting the 5 VIP race suits. Those are that's where you get all those cards. They're not random. They're in those boxes. Okay. But it's also getting you into using the loot crates, basically, to get that stuff.
Yeah.
But also, like, when you go in and you it still does the thing where if your drivatar has been used, is appeared in a certain number of races, you get a daily credit bonus of like a few thousand credits. The fact that, like, it already knows, because I signed up for Forza Rewards way back when, it knows that I've played every single Forza game since it came out, and it's given me, I've got, I think, 16 free loot crates sitting in my system right now. Like, I mean, they're still being generous. But the problem is that what I was getting at with all this microtransaction stuff is that this has been there for a while, but it's always been in a sort of something that's never bothered me, because it always fell into that whole area of, if I just play the game normally, honestly, it's up until this point, it's been an embarrassment of riches, right? Like, you never want for money, you never want for cards. You can go buy whatever car you want. You always have way more credits that you can use. You know what I mean? So it's the sort of thing like, okay, if for some reason there's a particular car that I want and I don't have the credits and I want to spend $5, all right, if I'm that person who can't wait, I'll spend the $5, no problem. And they always have had car pack DLC, but again, doesn't bother me because when you come out and there's like 100 cars on the disc anyway,
Sure.
I don't feel shortchanged for my $60, right?
Well, and in the past,
Makes
it was always a direct dollar price, also, right?
Yeah. Now, so there's all that. To me, that's the biggest tragedy. Now, what I will point out too, and I'm not saying to give them the benefit of the doubt, but just want to call out that if anyone remembers when Forza 5 came out, they pulled this shit again that time too. There were a bunch of cars locked behind a paywall when that game came out, and it was constantly in your face to go buy tokens, which were real money currency, right? X number of dollars for X number of tokens, and you could only buy certain things with tokens. And the community went nuts. There was a huge backlash. And 5 months after that, because of the backlash, Microsoft in turn 10 patched the game and
Fixed it.
got rid of all that crap. Like there were still tokens in the game, but nothing was locked behind a paywall anymore. Everything was available.
I think the industry's been wanting to push in this direction aggressively for a very, very long time. And I think the bellwether was Overwatch. I think Overwatch came out. It was getting Game of the Year awards.
I disagree with that aspect. I mean, I think obviously Overwatch made it okay for loot crates to be around, but the fact that this isn't just cosmetic stuff, right? I mean, this is game-changing stuff. Overwatch's loot crate system, love it or hate it, it's all cosmetic stuff. It's all stuff that is completely peripheral to the game. What we're talking about here with Forza, this is stuff that is integral to the game.
Yes.
Overwatch is not hiding characters behind loot crates, and they're not hiding weapons or abilities behind loot crates. That's what this is. That's what Forza is doing.
Yes. Right. Well, all I was saying was that that game, though, normalized the idea of loot crates.
I guess I could see your point. Sure. Because it's a super popular game, and the whole economy is based on loot crates.
Yes.
Yeah, I'll give you that. So anyway, really disappointing. I haven't played the game enough yet to see if progression is really stunted by this stuff. I'm really concerned that it is just by how much everyone's howling about it. So yeah, super disappointed in that. Like, I mean, there are a bunch of cars right now there, because the other thing they've introduced this year is actually like a collector score, which is like as you buy cars, you earn points toward your collector rating. And there's a bunch of cars that are locked behind that collector rating score. You can see them, but you can't buy them. You can't play with them. Which I'm not crazy about, but I also don't know how long it's going to take to get to the point where you can get that stuff. And I don't know if I'm going to need to go spend money to do it. But to me, the biggest problem is like what you said, CJ. I mean, I'm kind of ticked. Like there's something like 100 or 200 driver suits in the thing. I don't care because of honestly what Ethan said. I mean, yes, it is in every menu. I don't care. There are nationality based ones. I kind of like to be able to go by the Canadian suit.
Sure.
It sucks that I have to buy loot crates and hope that I get it. But I mean, it's the cars. It's having specific cars locked in a loot crate system. I'm not impressed.
Yeah.
Like as a long-time fan, I am not impressed.
Here's the other thing that's a real bummer with that is, I of course don't want loot crates in any part of the game ever. However, having just this past week finished Gears of War 4, I was happy about the fact that the campaign itself is not touched at all by loot crates. They have it for Horde mode, and it's gross there. But I got $60 worth of gameplay in that campaign mode, which is just really high quality, AAA experience. And I didn't have to see a single loot crate. I think it's nice if there is some part of the game that you could reasonably say is worth $60 that is completely free from that crap.
And like I say, the campaign mode in this game might be that. I don't know, because I've only played it for a few hours. I've only played through a few championships, and I mean, at the end of it, when you finish a championship, or no, when you go up a rank, you get to choose between getting some credits, getting a car, or getting a wearable, right? Whatever. The mod cards being in loot crates, I really don't care because they're not required to enjoy the game. But yeah, locking cars behind that is crazy. Like again, if you want to give me the option to gamble on a loot crate, and maybe get a great car for like 30,000 credits. But if there's a car I like, that's 300,000 credits. I can choose to go do that instead.
Yeah.
If that was the case, it wouldn't bother me. But from what I'm hearing, there are certain cars that are locked behind loot crates.
That's crazy.
And the thing is you can reject the practice altogether. I just this week picked up a mountain of great games and Ninjago, and none of them had loot crates.
I mean, how many of them were Forza 7 though?
I mean, I'm sure games targeted towards kids can't have loot crates, right? And that's another problem entirely.
So yeah, anyway,
I wonder if this is like Horse Armor back in 2006. Like we're talking about, like this is a terrible thing, and you're right, it is terrible. Yeah. But in 3 or 4 years from now, where are we going to be with this stuff?
Yeah, really.
Very clearly, every big publisher is putting this stuff in their games. You've got, Warner Brothers doing it in Mordor and Injustice. You've got Microsoft doing it. You've got Activision and Blizzard doing it. Like the big publishers are doing this stuff. EA is doing it for Battlefront 2.
Well, EA is doing it for their sports games.
And yeah, ultimately all that stuff. That is just
huge money maker. Yeah.
Right. So yeah, is this? Where are we going to be in 3 years with this stuff?
Well, the problem has always been this, is that the quote unquote whales, the people who get very deeply damaged by this stuff, is in the, sub 10%, usually 2% of the player base. And so 98% of people don't have a terrible experience that, puts them in a difficult financial position. And so that's a high enough number to where people will think that it's fine. And that's always the issue, because that remaining 2% will not self-advocate.
So, yeah, I mean, and I know we've talked about that many times before. And like I said, I mean, I've not been against microtransactions in the Forza games before. I've not been against the car pack DLC because honestly, I always feel like for the $60 I paid, I got my money's worth.
Some of that stuff is great, like the Hot Wheels thing that they put out for
sure, exactly. And that's the thing. Like even if you take out Hot Wheels and you take out Blizzard Island or whatever it was called, Blizzard Mountain, Forza 3 by itself for $60.
Yeah,
thank you. Was more than worth it. There's more than enough content in there.
Yeah.
Right? So and it's always been the same with the Forza Motorsport, like the proper games as well, where the car pack deal, like I said, car pack DLC never bothered me because I've got like 75 to 100 cars to choose from anyway. So if there's a certain car I want, I'll buy it. But otherwise, it doesn't really affect. If it came out, it's like, here's 10 cars, and we're going to sell you 10 more for $20 a piece for the next month, like every month for the next 12 months. That would be something else. So anyway, it's disappointing. Like I said, Microsoft set a precedent about backing, going back on this one time before when the Xbox One came out. They tried this. They went all in on it with Forza 5, and after 5 months, they basically said, sorry about that. They slashed all the car prices by 45%. They took all the price locks off. They started money when they won. They did all that late stuff.
I mean, obviously, that was two versions ago. Now we're like right back in the same spot.
Oh, I know. It's them trying the same thing. I'm not saying that proves that they won't, that they will do this again. I'm just saying that there is precedent for them doing this again. Like,
sure,
pushing way too far and then saying, "Whoa, okay, everyone's pissed off. Hang on a sec. We'll fix this."
I hope it shows up.
That's a terrible way to do things, by the way. Just push it as far as you can go and then ease up a little bit when people complain.
What's hilarious is that Microsoft did the same thing with this that they did with like the 360 back in the day when the Red Ring of Death was happening. And it's like everyone decided to look past the fact that the failure rate was so high because they were good with sending out replacement consoles all the time. It's kind of the same thing with the Forza series where everyone's looked past that because since then, Forza Horizon 2 came out, Forza 6 came out, Forza Horizon 3 came out, and none of that shit was in there. Right? So all the goodwill was back.
They're trying again.
And now they're trying again.
This is a game also that you could say is very important for the Xbox One X launch coming up here in a few weeks' time.
That's the thing, right? Again, and this is a tentpole release. This is the big AAA game for them for the holidays.
Well, And again, you saw the Sixth Access controversy, right? Where they gave NBA 2K18 a 3 out of 10 because of its egregious and game-breaking reliance on virtual currency. I thought that was awesome. I think that IGN should do that. I'd love to see IGN give Forza Motorsport a 4.
Has anyone reviewed it yet?
I'm sure the reviews are actually embargoed until the 3rd because that's the actual launch date.
That will be very interesting to see, like how it's brought up.
Yeah,
Sorry,
one more thing that I'm going to throw out, and I know we've been talking about this a lot already, but one more thing I want to throw out there is just to say that as far as them fixing it, it might not be as easy to fix this time, because last time all they really had to do was sort of up the credits they gave people, slash all the prices by like 45%, and everything was sort of hunky-dory, right? And they removed some of the locks. The game this time, the entire economy is built around consumables and loot crates. And I don't know how easy it would be to fix that. And it's even to the point that previously in games like this, if you go into the settings and you like turn off ABS and you turn off the best line, you turn off steering assistance, braking assistance, you turn up the AI. Every time you do that, you'd see a little percentage beside that. So it's just like the fact that your AI is set to expert means that when you win, you're going to get plus 10% credits, plus 5% for this, plus 2% for that. That's all gone.
Okay.
So
it's not going to be easy to patch out or fix.
It feels like it would be a lot to patch.
Well, I mean, the day one or the download, you said it was like 30 gigs on day one anyway.
Yeah, but that wasn't a day one patch so much as I think that was just content.
The only plus that I can see from this is that hopefully with this and NBA and Shadow of Mordor, we are getting closer to regulation, because we require at this point government regulation. And let's see. No, I think we should do it, and let's see how long they keep doing this nonsense. Once you have to be 21 or older to access loot crates, that would be fantastic.
That's what we need, is more government up in our business.
Yep. In this case, absolutely. We do. Because they'll never govern themselves.
How many M-rated games?
That's what they said about the games industry in 1992.
M-rated games.
Yeah, but it wasn't gambling, and it wasn't uncapped.
Yeah, but it was violence.
M-rated games are supposed to be played by people 17 and older. And how many people have you seen playing Call of Duty and Friday the 13th and all these other like M-rated things that
that's not a government regulation, though.
Well,
right. No,
although it is up here.
Is it really?
Yeah.
You're not allowed to sell M-rated games to minors up here. Well, under 17 up here, by law. But the ratings are self-regulated, which is different. It's not the government stepping in and saying this game is this. The government's saying you are self-rating these games, but we are going to. It's the same thing with restricted movies up here. You can't sell restricted movies to under 18 up here.
Interesting.
All right.
So I don't think that's such a bad thing. But anyway,
I think we should move off this one.
Yeah, sorry about that.
So you've talked a lot about Forza.
Disappointing.
Very disappointing. Yes, indeed. Let's talk about something a little more positive. How about that Red Dead Redemption 2 trailer, huh?
What's that?
Did you not watch?
No, I didn't.
I haven't watched it yet either.
Prequel. It's a prequel.
It's a prequel. Yeah. And of course, it looks amazing. And will certainly be amazing when it comes out, whenever that is in 2018. They don't specify a date, but the trailer looks awesome.
Yep.
Just a bunch of Western people saying a lot of Western things, rootin' tootin' cowboys and whatnot. You know the drill.
Rootin' tootin' hootin' and hollering.
That's right. You know the drill.
There's trouble down at the old mine.
There's a snake in my boot.
We'd better get down there and fight off all the outlaws.
That's right.
Like that kind of thing?
Yeah. Exactly. Let's talk about this. Maybe this gets us back on the mic.
I was going to say, you've got another big news story on here about loot crates and microtransactions, but go for it.
Okay. So yeah, there were some layoffs at Volition, who is the studio that did Saints Row and more recently Agents of Mayhem, which released back in August, and it doesn't seem like it sold too well. So they had some layoffs that were unfortunate this past week. But as part of that, GamesBeat reporter Jeff Grubb, friend of the show, Jeff Grubb, did a report here and interviewed some guy from the NPD. And I want to read you this quote because I think it's
some dude.
Interesting. I think his name is where is it? Matt. Yeah, Matt Piscatella.
Compelling radio.
Matt Piscatella says the top-selling games in the console. This is a quote. Top-selling games in the console market at the moment are primarily service-based games that promise significant or even unlimited hours of gameplay. Single-player, non-service-based games have to be nearly perfect in execution, not only with the game itself, but also in the marketing and promotion around the game to get to the top of the charts. It is a very difficult market for the $60 single-player game to hit the volumes in a launch month that service-based games can reach, even if they have been in the market for some time.
And there you go.
Yep, but fortunately, most indies prefer to make games that are not service-based, which is great, and we have a ton of great ones as a result, like SteamWorld Dig 2, and they can be
Rocket League.
Rocket League. You could call Rocket League a service game.
I'm going to go ahead and
Yes.
say that you can't count Rocket League in what Ethan's saying. Rocket League is an anomaly. Not even whether you want to call it a service game or not. It's
true.
a massive hit. And if what you're saying is that it has to be a massive hit in order for it to be successful, then that's not realistic.
No.
Right. Well, the other thing is you will continue to have first parties do AAA single player games because you see the importance of a game like Zelda Breath of the Wild or Last of Us 2. These are things that still have a large enough audience to justify. It's just they don't have an unlimited cap on.
Let me also say, Last of Us 2 and Uncharted, they also have multiplayer modes. And they do sell stuff for those multiplayer modes.
That's true.
So while you are right, those are primarily single player experiences for us. There is a large audience that plays the multiplayer games.
And also the games you just talked about had massive budgets backed by companies that could afford it.
That's true too.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
So I think that's kind of the point here is
DLC.
Yeah, exactly. We've talked about the mid-tier games disappearing. And really what that quote is talking about is exactly what we've said. It's like, take a big gamble, but you better be perfect.
Yeah.
Okay, but I'm just going to say, I'm just going to do a list. Here are the games that I bought this week, okay? Golf Story, Cross, Cine More, Thimbleweed Park, Dragon Ball Xenoverse 2, Pokken Tournament, Ninjago the Movie, Mario Brothers, and the SNES Classic. None of that has a lick of service-based content, and that was last week. That was just last week. So I'm just saying that there's a lot of really good.
A lot of AAA games. A lot of AAA games do have that, and
but I'm saying you can ignore it too. You can just ignore those
to a
games.
point.
That list is great, Ethan. Now tell me how all those games performed, and tell me what the budget.
We don't know yet.
And tell me what the marketing was. That's the point of the quote. Is that and that's why we're in kind of a real conundrum here when it comes to games as a service. The point is that these companies, as usual, we talk about this, they're here to make money. And if making a single player game as a product, non-service game is taking a massive risk for companies that are usually publicly traded, sorry.
When was the last time that game prices went up? And I'm not just talking about Canada. I mean, like the US from $50 to $60. When was that? It was around the 360 time, wasn't it?
I don't know, because they just keep creeping up here. So
anyway,
change happened.
What I think is happening is games as a service and microtransactions is replacing raising the price, or is stepping in place of doing that, like raising the price of those games. So in Canada, obviously, it's a different situation, and you're getting higher game prices anyway. Well, with currency conversion and all that fun stuff.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, all that quote is really telling us is what we've kind of suspected, which is just that you've got to spend so much on marketing, you've got to spend so much on a game that's going to sell. Yes, you might have the odd one that's going to hit, and yes, the indie developer, indie game makers are kind of in a different boat, although I think they're getting closer and closer to the situation that the big boys are seeing too, which is that it's feast or famine.
Okay, but here's the other
on a system like Switch. Just to interrupt you there for a second, on a system like Switch, which is a new platform, aren't very many games from AAA studios, of course, and you have a market condition there where people are in the mood for more games and will pay $14.99 $19.99, $7.99 for, in the case of Arcade Archives, Mario Brothers, that later on in the system's life, I wonder if that'll be the case. If we fast forward a year from now, are you going to be buying 8 games on Switch in a week? I'm not sure.
I'll tell you this.
You will.
I'll tell you this. The big challenge with service-based games, and we've seen this in the mobile market, is that they are designed to retain long-term and get people to play, every day for years. Only so many games can exist that way. There's only so big an audience that will do that. And
we're going to find out the limit.
Right. But the thing is all right, if you're super into Destiny 2, right, then you're significantly less likely to jump into Fortnite as well, right?
Yeah,
you're
that's
probably
the point of the quote.
Yeah.
But here's the thing. There are people that like depth deeply in games, and there are people that like breadth. Our show, the very reason a show like ours exists is that we're talking regularly about new releases. We don't just sit and talk about Destiny week after week after week, right?
But there are you have to admit though that a whole lot of the gaming audience loves the fact you can play Destiny for years and get new content. And it's the same with Madden Ultimate Team. Like, people.
I don't deny that. But what I'm saying is that there is an audience.
Grand Theft Auto 5 came out around the system around the generational transition, right? Because it's on 360 and PS3 as well, and it's still in the NPD list. And why is that? In part because they did GTA Online and they have currency, and they frequently update that thing with new content.
I totally see that, but what I'm saying is that in the service-based market, even with the top performers, the BioWares, the Blizzards, all of that, like you can only have so many, and then no one else is going to be successful. You see like Gearbox with Battleborn or Evolve, right, with 2K. Some of these games just are not going to work, even if they have AAA production values, are top quality developers. There's just not enough space, and that's going to be an even bigger issue as we move forward. These games get more robust, and so what you then have is an audience that wants those games, and there's plenty of them, but also an audience that will not tend to play a game for more than a month and want to move on to the next thing and on to the next, because that's habitually what they've done. They like that variety, and you can't imagine that people are just going to ignore that audience altogether, right?
No, but I think Ethan, just to back up here for a second, the situation you just described is exactly the same as the games as a product. Like you just rattled off a bunch of games you bought this week. Let's all agree, okay, that you are not a normal consumer. I'm not saying that to be mean.
Yeah.
What I'm saying is you are a hardcore dude. People don't buy 10 games a week. They just don't, right? It doesn't happen.
No.
It very, very, very rarely happens. And we keep talking about the Switch, but I think CJ is absolutely right. And we talked about this a little bit last week, CJ, because we were talking about the storefronts and the problems that we see in the storefronts for Microsoft and Sony. You don't really see with Nintendo, because you go on Nintendo's storefront and it's just whatever the last game was released, most recent release, that's at the top of the list, and you just go down the list like that. And you made a point last week that I thought was brilliant, in that it's like, yeah, that's great until they start releasing is like, I think what was it on PSN last week? There were 30 games.
Yeah.
In a week.
Last week was 18 games on the Switch.
Last week was 18 games on the Switch. So welcome. Here we are. And the thing is that you've got people who, there are the small amount of people, I would almost say, see, Ethan, I hate to say this, the whales of games as a product who'll go out and buy everything that comes out.
Hey, long as there's a direct price tag, we're good.
You're changing the point. The thing is that there's a certain amount of, I would say, money to go around each week, and that does grow this time of year. But you're spreading across way more releases, and like we were talking about last week, I think it was Ben Rivers that actually posted something on Twitter where he called out the ridiculous number of games that had come out on the PlayStation Network that weekend. He said, as an indie developer, when is a good time to release a game? There isn't one anymore, because there's so many coming out. And what you're saying as far as games as a service go and how they're meant to have huge longevity, and so only a few of them can exist, I would argue that that's the exact same thing with the games industry in general, which is it is impossible to be discovered on most storefronts at this point. So either you're a hit or you're dead.
Exactly. I think where we can agree, though, is that, one, there are too many games being made. That's
Yes.
How do you
obvious
fix that?
problem,
How do
right?
you fix that? And do we even see that as a problem? There are too many
Maybe-
good games.
Maybe
That is a
the
good problem to
government
have.
should step in and regulate
When
the
it
number
comes
of
to
games that are
trades,
being
I'm
made.
not going to back down on that because that is very important because the industry won't self-regulate. But beyond that, you're talking about, too many games being made. But at the same time, we always have this binary: everything has to be service-based or nothing should be service-based.
No, it
The truth is there's an audience for both. There is and always will be an audience for
very
games
true.
as a product.
But
Period.
I would say, so 18 games came out on the Switch this past week. How many of those 18 games will be in the black?
Sure,
And
the
that's the
majority
point.
won't.
That's the
Statistically.
problem. That's going to be the problem.
So then the problem presents itself. I'm a developer or publisher, and I'm releasing games as a product, and I can't compete with Activision and
No.
Sony and Microsoft and Nintendo and Ubisoft. Hey, I got a great idea for a game as a service, and if that hits, we've got revenue coming in for months.
Well, also, you can't possibly compete with the marketing that all of those AAA publishers push out, right?
Right.
You like 18 games on the Switch. I think we were talking about this, Greg. I mean, the fact that it is only sorted by recent releases is extremely positive for indies. And I know
Absolutely.
a lot of people on the internet are saying that the Switch eShop is shit. I completely disagree
I disagree too.
because the fact that you see indies in the recent list and that is the only list you really see. I mean, go to the PlayStation or Xbox store and try to find like a list of indies or try to find the recent releases. Like you have to drill down several places to get to those lists.
You really have to want it.
You really have to want it.
Yeah, discoverability sucks.
Yeah, discoverability I think is such a huge issue. And I know a lot of people are like, "Oh, the App Store, it's so crowded, I can't find anything." And yeah, that was true. And they fixed it with some iOS 11 stuff. And yeah, Nintendo doing the recent releases thing, yeah, that might suck. But hey, it might also put a spotlight on games that you wouldn't even normally see or look at, like Picross S. Like, if that was released in a week with 18 big AAA games, you're not going to see that on a list.
Yeah.
Like, so I don't even know what point I'm trying to make, really. But
well, I mean, it goes back to I can see why games as a service are a big thing because people lose their shirts on games as a product. It just happens.
Well, people lose their shirts on games as a service as much, if not more.
They need to try something different.
Indies versus AAA, right there. Like, if whoever's doing it, EA, Ubisoft, whatever, is making money hand over fist on a particular game that is a games as a service game, they're going to continually promote that game, right? Like they don't have to stop the marketing for a game just because it came out a year ago, like Overwatch,
Right,
they
but it's also
on. Indies are going to have a whole lot harder time with that. I mean, they're not going to be able to.
And I would argue that even for AAAs, not just indies, but for the most part with many genres, it's too late. It's a first mover advantage situation because the switching costs on these games are enormous. And I know that having come from free to play, if you have a person who's in a guild, has been for years and has invested a lot of money, if you try to ask them what would make you switch from the, say, Clash of Clans game you're playing now to something similar, he will tell you that he needs to convince his entire guild to move over, not just him. The switching costs are huge. And so that means, if you don't get into the window with a given genre with a service game very quickly, you're too late.
And you're talking about that on
you're
mobile.
That's the same thing.
About that on mobile. Right now, like guilds and stuff, like it's only sort of like kind of getting into...
Didn't you just describe though what you have to do with a standalone single player game as well? Don't you have to hit almost immediately? Unless you're Nintendo, don't you have to hit almost immediately?
Well, I think that
the
thing is though is the switching cost is negligible because somebody finishes a single player game and then is on to the next.
In the first place.
You could say so.
Well,
Agents of Mayhem. To bring this back around to Agents of Mayhem, this is a single player $60 game that didn't sell very well. It was maybe they should have put together a plan to sell microtransactions, and they
let me ask you this though, real quick. Agents of Mayhem.
Mm-hmm.
Is it really any good?
I had fun
Was
with
it?
it.
Was it really that good though?
No. The problem was that it was a very cartoony game that would have, would think, appeal to a broad range of ages, but they have F-bombs in there and a lot of swears, which, I mean, it doesn't even go as far as Saints Row 4 did in terms of graphic stuff, but it has language, and they probably shouldn't have done it like that.
So the real story here, all this, games as a service, microtransactions aside, the real story is a game that isn't very good didn't sell very well.
No, see, I think that's a little unfair though, Phil, because nobody sets out to make a bad game.
Well,
yes, it
true.
happened. But
from
I mean,
a consumer standpoint of
you could go through. I don't think you could go through the full library of games that was released this year and say everything that didn't at least make its money back is a bad game that just didn't sell.
Right.
Well, and one other thing, though, is like you look at the popularity of the Switch, it's now only possible to walk into stores and get it. And with one or two exceptions like NBA 2K18, it is the platform that is almost entirely games as a product, right?
I think that is not long for this world.
No.
But the thing is,
let's come back. I'm gonna stop you from saying it, because in a year's time, we'll look back at this episode and you'll be like, "Oh my God, I wish games as a service had stayed on PlayStation and Xbox or whatever, or on PC." I mean, it's going to be every platform, because that's going forward. That's what games are.
Well, then let's hope that we get as many product games in the next year, if that's true, as possible, and be glad that we're getting the bounty that we do, because those games can be played forever. They're not based on the need to have a server, and then you can just go back to that and play that once the market gets crowded with games as a service.
Exactly. I mean, when we get 15 years from now, are you going to be able to play PUBG the way that you are now? No, of course not. And speaking of PUBG, let's talk about Epic.
We're not even going to get to what we've been playing tonight. Let's keep going, though. This is great.
We really aren't. So Epic Games, obviously, they make the Unreal Engine. Yeah. And Bluehole, who makes PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds, a little bit of a tiff now, because obviously Epic announced that they were doing a Fortnite Battle Royale mode, which Battle Royale is what PUBG does. And part of Bluehole got angry to the point of issuing a press release, in part because Bluehole works directly with Epic because they use the Unreal Engine, and they also have to pay a license fee to Epic. And they did not know that Epic was going to be doing a competing product to theirs.
So they're pissed that Epic copied the movie Battle Royale, or the book Battle Royale, after Bluehole did.
I mean, there have been a lot of people who have put out Battle Royale style games, including GTA 5 has one in their online.
And wouldn't it have been dumb if GTA or if Rockstar clucked their tongue at THQ for doing Saints Row? I mean, come on.
Well, I think this is different because Battlegrounds is using the Unreal Engine and working with Epic, and an Epic studio happened to make Fortnite Battle Royale, and then also mention PUBG in a video promoting Fortnite Battle Royale.
No, that's still dumb. It's just as dumb as like someone saying, "Hey, I'm building off the Source engine, and I'm going to make a first-person shooter, just like Half-Life 2." Come on.
I don't know. I mean,
yeah, I think it's a little bit overreacting.
It's for sure an overreaction, and I think maybe it's promoting Fortnite a little much. I mean, obviously, it's not impacting PUBG's popularity whatsoever. Even though Fortnite's Battle Royale mode is free, you don't even have to be like a founder pack owner of Fortnite to play it. It's free to play, and there are absolutely no microtransactions in it at the moment. You can't buy anything. You can't customize your character or any of that stuff. So I'm sure all that'll come later, but they have a completely free thing going on. And yeah, somebody in the chat mentioned that they talked about this on the Easy Allies podcast this week. Definitely check that out. They got a real games business lawyer to give them a rundown on this. So their podcast is great. Definitely check out Easy Allies this week for more on this. Let's talk about golf, shall we? because a couple months ago, somebody found an NES emulator in the Switch firmware, and it was discovered that the code name was Flog.
Yes.
And then it came out that on a certain day in July, you can unlock motion-controlled NES Golf on the Switch.
Yes.
By doing the Nintendo Direct hand motion with the Joy-Cons.
Right.
Actually. So put in there as a tribute to Iwata. And it is unlocks on it's only available to do it on July 11th, which is the anniversary of Iwata's passing. You can do that motion and unlock NES Golf.
And why is NES Golf special, CJ?
Because Satoru Iwata programmed the game.
There you go.
He was challenged. They told him they couldn't put 18 holes of golf on a 256K cartridge, something like that. And he took that challenge and did it. And that's why golf is in there.
Said here.
Direct to you.
There you go.
So that's pretty cool. I like that.
That's a nice sweet tribute.
Yeah. Very sweet tribute.
I like also that it's something that had to be dug up from the outside, and they didn't promote it. They didn't let people know about it. It was just a literal Easter egg that they probably wouldn't have said anything about.
I doubt they still haven't said anything about it, and I doubt we'll ever hear Nintendo say anything about it.
It wasn't a literal Easter egg.
Well, okay.
I mean, a literal Easter egg. If they hit a literal Easter egg inside every Switch system, the systems would start to sink.
See, it was these moments that I thought we would have on stage last week, and I was half hoping would turn into a brawl. Forever own battle royale.
Literal battle royale. Yeah.
Oh, and somebody on our chat asked what July 11th represents.
We just said that it's the anniversary of Iwata's passing.
Perk up your ears, sport.
All right. Should we even do what you've been playing?
I'm curious here.
I want to do at least one thing.
But the Switch applications icons. What is this news story you've got here?
Oh, I don't know if you saw this piece.
You're not privy to this
on Kotaku. That the internet gets very upset if they don't get a good.
Oh, you know what? I'm sorry I asked. Never mind.
There you go. So let's talk about what you've been playing, and I think we should really talk about the SNES Classic in this.
Yep.
Right. Because I'm pretty sure we all got one. There you go.
Yeah.
I didn't get one at retail. I had to do the Amazon Treasure Truck thing.
Amazon's retail.
Amazon's retail. Well, yeah, I suppose so. My other pre-orders are arriving like Tuesday and Wednesday this week.
What?
And those will be there. Those will be Extra Life giveaways.
Yeah.
Look at that.
Yeah, I had a Walmart and Target pre-order, and they didn't ship until pretty late. So
crazy.
They were never release day guaranteed, so that's okay.
Okay.
But,
my experience was flawless. I ended up having no problems picking up the pre-ordered Best Buy SNES Classic that I put on order. Got a text the night before that gave the order number to make sure I had that. Reminder to bring my credit card and my ID. Walked in, didn't have to wait in any kind of line 10 minutes after the store opened, and 2 minutes later I was in my car driving home.
That's awesome. With the Treasure Truck experience, I don't know if anybody has done that before. You get a text message from the Amazon app that says what the deal or what the daily thing is. You can order it via the app, and then you can go pick it up at the Treasure Truck location between noon and 8 p.m. So I did that, and it was seamless as well. I just had to scan a little barcode, and I got my system done.
Very nice.
Everyone that was in line got one also. I asked the person at Best Buy how many they got. He didn't know, but he said we got a surprisingly large number.
Mm.
So
yeah,
a
Target near me. I stopped at Target before going into work, just on the off chance they got a whole bunch of them. They had gotten in 60 of them, and they sold out pretty quickly.
When I went to Best Buy to pick up the one I had ordered from them, I did the in-store pickup, and the guy is ringing me up, And I just asked him, just out of curiosity, how many of these did you guys get in stock? And he got very, very snippy with me and was just suddenly, no, we're all sold out. We don't have any more. And I was like, well, I know I'm not trying to get more out of you.
What about any Seaman? Do you have any Seaman?
I was just curious, and we don't have any more. Do you have this one? I was just curious, and he wouldn't give me a straight answer. So
nowadays, yeah, anyone's a scalper, right? And anyone's they're gonna strategize like, oh, how many? By curiosity, how many family members do I have to call in order to get in line here and get the rest of these?
I do have my 5-year-old with me. Can he buy one? How many can he buy?
I've seen that happen.
Yeah. I was just curious. I just wanted to know, but yeah, he really thought I was gonna try and scam him or something.
Yeah.
Very smartly at the Best Buy, they had an entire table full of extension cords as well. $10 for 2, just making sure everyone was stocked up.
Because they can't sell second controllers. They need to sell that extension cord. Yeah.
Yep.
Greg, what about your experience?
Oh, simple. I got a call from EB saying my pre-order was in, and I went in and picked it up.
Boom.
There you go.
So it does seem like they shipped a whole lot more of these out. Although I'm pretty sure, just even glancing at Craigslist ads on Craigslist, there are plenty of.
Oh my god, that was great!
Boy,
plenty of people. That's where you see Craigslist ads, right?
That's true. That's the real
America Online on the CompuServes. Yeah, people trying to flip SNES classics
on the eBay. If you go to eBay, you'll find eBay listings there.
Oh, damn!
Mm-hmm. If you go to www, you go to http:// they're about $150. They're going for about $150 on the eBays.
Yeah.
So is that what's the regular price down there?
$80.
$80.
Okay. So about okay.
Less than
almost doubling your money. Almost.
Not worth it.
Nope.
Well, no, certainly not.
Not until it's cracked and you can put every single Super Nintendo game on it.
Which apparently
Very close.
it seems like that's going to happen fast.
Yeah, we're days away from that, if that much.
That's pretty great.
I'm going to wipe mine completely clean and toss 100 copies of Dennis the Menace.
Yes,
on mine.
Yeah, I figured as much.
Mr. Wilson.
What was the first game you guys played? Was it what we all had said?
Star Fox.
Star Fox, yeah.
No,
Mm-hmm.
I just played the first game that popped up. I think it was Contra.
Yeah,
you did? Really?
Yeah.
There
you go.
Contra's great. What do you want?
You got to unlock that Star
great.
Fox 2. We got to get that little present unwrapping animation going for Star Fox 2.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and
nice touch.
Playing through that first stage of Star Fox again was really refreshing. It'd been years since I played it, and even though it is obviously not very sophisticated graphically, it's still super fun.
Totally.
Way
Star
more
Fox
fun
doesn't
than
really
Star
hold
Fox
up.
2.
Way more fun than Star Fox 2. Holy crap.
Yeah, the problem for me with Star Fox 2 is that it's not on rails. Like Star Fox 1 works because
I don't know what the hell's going on.
Yeah, it's straight down a pipe. Star Fox 2, I just don't think is very fun. I'm glad that I'm getting a chance to play it, but I doubt that I'll ever finish it. What do you think?
Well, having watched people on YouTube and on Twitter say that they finished it within 45 minutes, I think it's probably a very easy game to complete. It's sort of meant to be completed multiple times as well.
Right.
So I probably will finish it at some point. I was too busy playing other games on the SNES Classic to even really bother much with Star Fox 2. But yeah, it's interesting that you say it's not good. And I'm not sure, I wonder how people are grading this game, whether they're looking at it as a game from 1996 with all the drawbacks and gameplay design that brings with it, or are you too influenced because you don't have nostalgia or rose-colored glasses for this one? Whether
I think that's a
games
total.
are too much.
I think it's a cop-out. And I think it's a cop-out specifically because there are so many games on that awesome little box that just age beautifully, right? So you're playing Street Fighter 2 Turbo or Yoshi's Island or Super Mario World. Those games age beautifully. They're so much fun right now.
True.
So you can't just say it's a artifact of its time. Look at it from that context, because if you look at Yoshi's Island from 2017 standards, it's still awesome.
Can I point something out?
Go for it.
Star Fox and Star Fox 2 aren't sprite-based platformers.
Yeah, that's true. That's
early,
true.
fully 3D polygonal shooters. So of course, they're going to be shit.
Star Fox is really, really rough to play these days.
Yeah, Star Fox.
Really,
you said it was refreshing.
really
I wouldn't call playing the first level of Star Fox refreshing.
No,
Okay.
the first level of Star Fox was
not
kind of a slog to get through these days.
It's
But
refreshing in that you have fun memories of it.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
I
fun
totally
memories
agree with CJ because it was super impressive back in the day because there was nothing like it.
Sure.
And I think that's
but
why Star Fox 2 seems like it's bad, because you
Right.
don't have those memories of
Right.
Star Fox 2.
I don't think that's entirely true. I was very open-minded coming to Star Fox 2, and as I said, just playing a level of Star Fox 1 and having a good time, I was, open to jump in and have just as much fun here, and I didn't. My point is I don't think it even ages nearly as well as Star Fox 1. At least not the 25 minutes I put in.
I think it's not designed as well. I would agree with that.
But
I mean,
Star Fox does not age well at all.
No.
Not even a little.
I beat it back in the day.
Oh, I loved Star Fox back in the day.
Yeah,
I
it
was
was
I-
amazing back in the
I
day.
played through it multiple times back in the day, but just playing through that first level, I was really, really smacked with reality. That
Well, I
Star
think-
Fox
effects
just
as
does not
well.
hold up.
Stunt Race
think I'm
Effects
gonna-
would be one of my favorite racing games.
Oh god, that was terrible.
That is also terrible. It was terrible. Oh well.
I think I'm going to be spending a lot more time on the SNES Classic than I did on the NES Classic. And the NES Classic got, a decent number of hours itself, but just some of these games, I really do want to play stem to stern, Final Fantasy III and, Super Mario RPG. I want to play all the way through those. And the emulation is just beautiful. I'm just so happy with how much content is in there and how good it is.
I will say, talking about games holding up, any of those games that use the pre-rendered 3D models that were crushed down to sprites, I'm sorry, like Mario
I think they look
RPG
bad.
look god awful now.
They look god awful, but if you put on the CRT filter, they look a little bit better.
Yes. And it's the same with, I think it's a real shame for Donkey Kong in particular, because I'm actually one of the people who thinks that Donkey Kong Country was a good game.
I like it too.
Weird.
And I really enjoyed it, but man, it's hard to look at now. It does not translate to like a high, like a high def
right.
at all.
Do you feel like it is such that you won't end up playing through it or spending any time in it other than just kind of a trip through memory
I
lane?
won't end up playing through everything on this thing anyway. I'll play through some of the games. I mean, I don't like Donkey Kong Country enough that I would go back and spend the time on it. Just like I probably won't play through Mario RPG because I can't find the time for modern RPGs. Like I won't find the time for that.
You know what's great though about the SNES Classic? The rewind feature.
Yeah,
I haven't
it's
even
a little
tried it.
clumsy to use. It's
Yeah,
a
I
little clumsy to use because of the save state thing, but
So yeah, it's a little bit clumsy. You have to press the reset button, go back to the menu, and save the game as a save state, and then rewind.
Oh, that's more trouble than it's worth. It sounds like
It is, but if you get killed in an RPG, like the first battle in Final Fantasy III, Terra died on me. I wasn't doing the heal spell. It was one of the first battles. It was like that electrical snail thing that you fight, and she died on me. I was like, oh shit! Like, now I'm not gonna be able to defeat this boss. I didn't heed the warning at the beginning of this fight, and I was like, oh wait, I can use the rewind feature. How do I do that again?
It doesn't surprise me in the least that you didn't heed the warning at the beginning of the fight.
Yeah,
you need to heed more.
yeah, heed more of that advice. But I will say, I really like this lineup better than the NES Classic. In
Oh, it's
terms
a great
Yep.
lineup.
game
Yeah.
that you can go back and revisit, and they don't feel archaic.
Mhm.
Right.
I mean, there were a few games on the NES Classic that were the same way, but I think all of the games on the SNES Classic feel that way.
Well, I think we talked about this before, talking about like the first half of the 90s anyway. I mean, we're talking about the era when companies like Konami and Capcom and Nintendo and a lot of big third parties were just hitting their stride. Like they had turned game development, like it was an art form at that point. So yeah, and like what I love about some of the stuff they've got on here, especially like Super Castlevania, Super Ghouls and Ghosts, they have their problems, but they're also these like masters of their craft playing with a bunch of new toys.
Yeah.
And you can see how they're, they're really trying to discover what they can do with this new hardware. It's a really cool sort of time capsule.
Yeah. And it's kind of heartbreaking to see things like Contra 3 and Super Castlevania 4 and just remember how good Konami used to be and still could be today,
Yeah. True. For sure.
But I just I think that part of the fun is the curation and seeing what Nintendo themselves thought was worth putting on there. I do agree that Chrono Trigger should be there. That would be nice. But what's really cool is listening to a lot of other podcasts talk about this too. It's like no one seems to have exactly the same like number one pick. I've heard people say, of course, Zelda, others Mario World, others Kirby Superstar, right? And that's what's so great about the lineup.
It's such a great collection, and they only did 20 games, and they could have done more. But yeah, the stuff they have on here is great. I think my top game of this collection is Super Metroid. I have finished Super Metroid on multiple consoles at this point, and will probably finish it again on the SNES Classic.
And that's the one that I got deepest into. The timing for me was perfect because I just beat Metroid Samus Returns, and that's the first Metroid game I've ever completed. And being that is Metroid 2, effectively, it's really perfect to roll into what is Metroid 3 with Super Metroid.
There you go.
And just keep right on playing. Really, really elegant. But that game feels contemporary even mechanically. It's just really, really wonderful.
Yeah. It's a great game.
The problem with Super Metroid is that there are some bits for some reason. It's almost too good. Now, there are some bits that they don't tutorialize because, of course, this was a world before you really did that in games. And but they do have hints in the attract mode in the game. There are a couple things that like you wouldn't get just playing the game on your own necessarily. So, yeah.
What I hate is that the X button is the fire button. Makes absolutely no sense.
Yeah. All right. Well, is that it for our SNES Classic?
I will say, and you said that you don't hear it, but I will say that listening to that the emulation on headphones, there's a lot of sort of snaps and pops happening. It's not perfect. I need to go check out some videos but it's not like offensively bad either. It's not like you would get with like what the heck is an At Games Genesis console.
No,
that's
night and day. Garbage.
Like So
sure. And obviously, I think the sound emulation is a little bit different.
It is. Things don't sound quite right. I mean,
they don't sound quite right, but
you
very
only notice
close.
it. Yeah, you'd only notice it if you're super familiar with the games that are on there, right?
Yeah.
The one complaint I have is the controller lid. That thing I have a tough time snapping back into place properly.
But the controllers
are
fantastic.
The controllers are awesome.
Although I'm holding an actual original here and the new one, and you'd be hard pressed to tell the difference.
Right.
I think the L and R feel a little clickier on the new one.
I wouldn't go with that, to be honest.
It might just be because
the old ones are just worn out. The only thing that feels different is that there's a little bit of a texture on the plastic on the new ones.
Yeah.
It wasn't on the old ones, but that's really it. Everything else is almost identical, even down to like there's a little notch in the gray area on the controller. It's the same on both. You can barely see it.
Yeah.
And for all the people that are saying, "Oh, just get a Raspberry Pi instead," it's like that's fine, but it's like there's something about the form factor of the machine itself combined with holding an authentic controller that really is a huge part of being zapped back in time playing these games.
It's not even that, because I mean, how many copies of some of these games do we own on other platforms already, right? And Virtual Console, 3DS Virtual Console, Wii U stuff, and buying it again in a different form factor, to me, the reason to buy the SNES Classic, the reason to buy the NES Classic over a Raspberry Pi is because it's an official product. It looks like the old thing, and the controllers are damn near perfect. That's really the reason. And these are also are cheaply priced. What you get.
Just to go back to what we were saying a minute ago, Channing King in our chat has said that the opening sustained notes in Final Fantasy III are slightly pitched up. And I think that is actually the moment where I realized that the sound emulation wasn't exactly perfect, because I've played Final Fantasy III so many times that I have, like, it was easy to notice that there was something wrong with it. The other thing that I noticed too is the wind whistling doesn't sound right.
That's true.
But you wouldn't say it sounds bad, would you?
It doesn't sound bad. It just sounds
okay.
It doesn't sound right. I don't want to say it sounds. No, I mean, no, I don't want to say that it sounds bad, but it doesn't sound right because it was meant to sound a certain way and it's not quite there.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, it's pretty darn close to perfect as far as I'm concerned. And I just love that you can play Yoshi's Island and it, has the, touch fuzzy, get dizzy and all of that. I mean, it's like...
What are we talking about?
Yoshi's Island. That one has not...
on Virtual Console. Ever.
Has not been available on Virtual Console, so...
No.
Yeah, that and Star Fox.
Yep.
Good reasons to have this. I'm tempted to go right into tweets so that we can finish this episode at a decent hour. Skip over everything else.
Actually,
if you're cool with that.
One thing, I think we've all played Golf Story. Could we talk for just a minute about that?
I have not played Golf Story.
I have not played it. I did pick it up though.
Okay, let's talk about. Make sure to talk about it next week, and I'll just say that I really am delighted by that game. It's super fun.
We will definitely talk about it. It looks delightful. I watched a video before I plunked down the money on it, and it's just got a great sense of humor, and I love.
I keep hearing references to Mario Golf on Game Boy Color, which is really all I need to know.
Indeed,
it gets that note for sure.
Yeah.
Although,
Indeed.
Ethan,
Yep.
Did you get a fighting game this week or something? Did I understand that?
Yeah.
Really, which one is that?
Got a couple of fighting games. I got.
I don't. You know what? I don't care about Dragon. Oh, which one?
One that I think you're thinking of. Pokken Tournament.
Which one? Say that name again.
Pokken Tournament.
Just for the folks, just to make sure everyone hears it. Which one?
Pokken Tournament.
It's Tekken.
And what do you think about that game?
I think it's polished as hell. I think it's a lot of fun to play, and no, honestly, it's a really, really fun game that is going to be the first to meaningfully compete with ARMS in terms of my time on fighters. It's great.
Okay, but it's better than ARMS, I bet.
No, but it's I think that it's worth spending time on both. I do like ARMS a bit better, but this has a fresh novelty.
Yeah, that's Ethan though. Okay, just curious.
Seems like a worthy Nintendo Switch game.
I have no opinion on it.
It's very good.
Okay.
I have no opinion.
Well, it didn't seem like you did.
Nope.
Well, that's why I'm saying we should go right to tweets.
Tweet.
Yes. These are questions, of course, that people tweeted at us with the hashtag AskP1P.
People understand what tweets are.
Hacker aliases. Well, we might have some new listeners from
who don't know what Twitter is.
Who don't know?
Well, they clearly know what Mystical Ninja is.
Well, that's what they should.
Why don't you do an explanation of what Mystical Ninja is all about, Phil?
Well, you know what's great about Mystical Ninja is that it doesn't.
Hacker alias Web Andrew Webb
So
says, if I have most of these games on my Wii, which my 4- and 6-year-olds still use all the time, should I still get an SNES Classic?
I can't unmute Phil.
Hold on, let me see if I can.
There
we go.
Boom. Dare mute me.
That was amazing.
Dare mute me while I'm bad mouthing your boring free to play talk. How dare you?
Anyway, okay, so he has most of the games on the Wii. Should he still get an NES Classic?
I don't know.
If you like
Maybe.
Star
I mean,
Fox on Yoshi's Island, I mean,
I
Yoshi's
guess-
Island was never on the Wii.
The other question is, I guess, is your Wii going to be connected forever?
Yeah, that's true.
I mean,
Yeah.
you know, the nice thing about the NES Classic and the SNES Classic is they're really simple to connect.
That's
Yeah.
like,
true.
you know, and they're nice and small, so they're easy to store. And
If your television has a USB port on it, which most nowadays
Right?
do, you
Yeah.
can plug that in for power instead of having to find another space in your power strip.
yeah,
Oh, that's interesting. I didn't even
So, I
think
mean,
about
you know,
that.
as long as if you've got most of those games on the Wii, and as long as the Wii is going to be something that's connected to your entertainment system for quite a while, sure. But I guarantee that down the road, the Classic will be much easier to sort of pull out and hook up and get running.
I bet that Wii is going to crap out and die decades
Yep,
before
mine did.
Before the
NES
SNES Classic does.
Yeah.
I mean, you're going to have to run over that thing with an 18-wheeler to get that
Mhm.
SNES
Yeah.
Classic to die on you. I'm
And
guessing.
the other thing is that this thing's going to be hacked in a matter of weeks, and you'll be able to put like the entire library onto it. So
Yeah.
That's right.
The other thing I'll say is that you should get it, because even if you don't end up playing it a ton, and I think you will, but even if you don't, bring it over to Grandma and Grandpa's house. Leave it there.
yes, actually, that's a good point. Really,
Oh, yeah,
or even if you don't
You
want to
know?
leave it there, like it's so small, it's easy to pack and carry with you. Comes
Right.
with 2 controllers. You're playing the games with controllers that they were built to be played with. There's
Yeah.
a lot of upsides to it, but
Yeah.
again,
Also,
you know.
if you're showing them the classic games, there's a part of you that's doing it because of the fact that you want them to have a taste of your childhood, and this is a more authentic slice of that because of the controllers.
sure.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
I know my ex brother-in-law. He sent me a video of my nephews playing Street Fighter because
Oh,
again
nice.
they've got 2 boys. Comes with 2 controllers, which by the way I don't think we've given Nintendo enough props for that.
Yeah, that was
Yeah,
good
yeah,
move.
it's great.
Flipping with
It's
2
great.
controllers. Thank
Yeah.
you. And now they're crazy about Street Fighter. They're
Cool.
just
That's
playing
awesome.
nothing but Street Fighter for the weekend.
Nice. Are
Yes,
they
yes,
Shoto
yes.
scrubs?
What's that? Huh?
Are they a Shoto scrub?
Oh
They
yeah,
just-
it's Hadoken.
Ken versus
of course.
Ryu?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like
yeah.
crazy.
I'm proud of those boys, even though I don't know them.
Yeah.
All right. Hacker alias S.I. Houghton says Nintendo shutting down the Wii store. You still happy about the digital future?
No, that's what we've been
2019.
saying forever.
So, yeah,
we've been saying that forever.
Nintendo said they're going to shut down the shop channel, and that's going to be happen in 2019. So
Yep.
we got a little bit
January
of time.
1st, right?
Yeah, got a little bit of time on that.
Oh, it still
And-
sucks. But we
Yeah,
all knew
it-
it was going to happen eventually.
Yeah.
It does, but again, you have that stuff stored, and if you bought it there, you can even store it on your Wii U, which is great. And most of the games at this point work, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that, I mean, just going to just straight vanilla Wii on
Until
Wii U,
that
all of them
Wii
will
or-
work.
Till that Wii or Wii U
Dies.
craps out on you and you have
Craps
to
out,
buy a
yeah.
new system, and then
Then
what do
you're
you do?
screwed. You're screwed at that
Yeah,
point.
yeah.
Well,
No, I
ba-dum.
don't. That's why I buy almost everything physical, but still, I think you'll be okay because those games don't require you to be online to play.
All right. Let's do this one from Hacker alias Blarcade, who says, did you ever skip on a game that became a classic when it was new? I passed on Super Metroid because I didn't like the first or second.
I skipped on the original Legend of Zelda back on the NES.
Really?
Yep, just because I was totally into platformers at that point, and big adventure game just did not appeal to me back then.
I skipped on Yoshi's Island back in the
Ooh.
day.
I skipped
I
on that
skipped-
too.
I skipped on Smash Brothers during the N64.
Yeah, same here.
I thought it looked too kiddie,
Mhm.
actually.
This is the guy who just paid $60 for Cars 3.
Yeah,
Ninjago.
I do have a 7-year-old boy, but I would have bought it even if I didn't. So
Of course.
Dragon Warrior and Dragon Quest, I didn't really get into until 8.
yeah, that's a good choice,
Yeah.
especially since they really wanted you to play Dragon Warrior during the NES days.
Yes,
they were
they did.
Well, they sent it out for free. Remember?
Yep.
That's right.
That's what got me into console RPGs.
Nice.
Mine was Final Fantasy 3.
Mine as well.
That was the first RPG I ever played and finished.
That was the reason I bought a Super Nintendo.
Oh man,
that game is awesome. I need to. I mean, I started playing it already on the SNES Classic, but
so good.
I want to at least get to the opera scene.
And the big irony
you should
is
just play through it.
Big irony is that I bought my Super Nintendo to play Zelda 3 when I skipped the original back in the day. Yeah,
which I still got to say, I think. I mean, and I'm sure this is mostly nostalgia talking.
Yeah,
but man, Link to the Past is still my favorite Zelda game.
Word up!
Like there have been great games since, but Link to the Past, and again, mostly nostalgia. But man, oh man,
I wouldn't say
mostly. I feel so good when I play that game.
This is why, Greg, I cuddled the closest up to you when we were in Vegas because you got it,
and I'm the softest.
Well, there's that too.
We were the two.
No,
softest
guys. I'd honestly say that game, even by today's standards, ages beautifully. And for me, I have a nostalgic spot in my heart for Ocarina of Time, but I know that it's not as good as either Breath of the Wild or Link to the Past. I think those two are the best, and probably equals for different reasons.
Yep. All right. Let's do this one, and we'll wrap up with this one. From hacker alias Justin Brimley, who says, with Toys R Us in the news for filing bankruptcy, I'd like to know if you've had any fond memories of the store.
Oh, man. So we didn't have Toys R Us here until I was in my 20s.
Yeah.
But I vividly remember going down to the Portland Mall in Portland, Maine, because that was our family trip every summer, was going down to Maine. And walking in and seeing that amazing wall
of tickets.
So it was just like going to Disney World. I mean, it was just, because the thing you got to understand is, like, I mean, around here you had like department stores that had, electronics sections, and when the 2600 was big, because I remember those days, you could find they'd had a lot of games, but after that, like, releases were kind of hit and miss, and there were Nintendo sections, but you go in and they'd have like 15 games
on
the shelf, whatever the newest stuff was, plus the standards like Mario Brothers and that sort of thing. But man, you walked into Toys R Us and the aisle just goes on forever, and it's just like every game you can imagine. The card is up there and you can flip it over. I spent every time we went, I spent like an hour. We never bought anything. We didn't need to buy anything. I just spent an hour sifting through all the cards, and it was just. And then when you did get to buy something, you got to take that ticket back to the little locked room.
Yeah,
and so cool, man! Like my defining moment in my childhood.
Well, what about the glass case?
I was gonna say this.
Oh my god!
It was adjacent to the row that had the tickets and and everything.
Yeah.
That had like every system out. It was behind glass, but everything was sort of like set up so properly that you could get right up against that glass and be like, oh, I can almost taste it.
I can't believe they stopped doing that, because that was so effective. And I remember it wasn't just the systems, and it was great to see the systems there, but also I had an Odyssey 2, as you did, CJ. And so those master games, I forget exactly what they're called, but the ones that came in the big boxes, like Quest for the Rings and things like that. Remember,
those were always in the glass case.
Exactly. Yeah, they'd be in the glass case, and they'd be opened up, and you'd see all the stuff that came in it, and that was just amazing.
Yeah.
I remember my dad would pretend that he lost control of his car and like couldn't help the car.
What?
Well, bear with me. Couldn't control the car, and the car was just pulling itself into Toys R Us and stopping there, so that we could see what was new in the game section. I also remember N64.
Now you know he did have a drinking problem. Drinking. Yeah.
Oh man, there's a magnet in this tree. I better.
No, but the N64 era also, I remember they were the one store in town that had a kiosk about a month early before the N64 came out that had Mario 64 running, and I would routinely go and on a lunch break, play a little bit more of that game. I was just so excited about it, and of course, I ended up buying it at Toys R Us as a result.
Yeah,
I think Toys R Us was the first place I ever got to play Shadows of the Empire. Shadows of the Empire?
Yeah. Okay.
The N64 game. Yeah. They had that in a kiosk before the store I worked at actually had a copy. So,
yeah. Yeah, first time I ever had sex was in a Toys R Us.
Wow.
No, that's,
Yeah, but that was
that's not true.
one of those
That's
giant.
That was the second.
stairs,
Wait,
right?
wait, Phil, which aisle?
Well, it's started off.
Oh,
Oh my goodness!
It was by the Masters of the Universe toys. Of course.
I have the power.
Yikes!
Phil and Little Orco.
Clean up on
Oh,
aisle
boy.
5.
You know, when I was working at Babbage's back in the day, we had one of those N64 display units in the store,
Yeah.
like the giant Pop-O-Matic bubble with the N64 inside, and they would send us copies of like Banjo-Kazooie and stuff like that too. To play on there.
Yeah.
And because I was the assistant manager at the time, I had the key to unlock the display case so we could switch out the cartridges and that sort of thing. And one day after work, I had gone over to the Toys R Us by the Fox Valley Mall, actually, for you Chicago suburbanites.
I know that mall.
That's right, you do.
Yeah.
And I was walking through the video game system, just looking at all their stuff. And again, this was they still had the games on the cards and everything, which again was like the best part of going to Toys R Us.
Yes.
But I walked by and they also had one of those N64 demo units. And just out of curiosity, I busted out my key to see if it would work.
Totally worked.
And sure enough, Nintendo used the same locks on all of their. So I stole their demo copy of Banjo-Kazooie. Right.
Yeah.
No, I did not. I quickly closed it back up and said, "Well, that's an interesting thing to know in case I ever need a not for resale copy of."
That's a hell of a thing.
Yeah, but that was just an amusing little factoid.
Nice.
That's it. That's my story.
Okay.
That's my story. But Toys R Us is great, and it's a Toys R Us was great.
Was great.
And
yeah, I
it's
think in general the retail experience nowadays kind of sucks.
Yeah, well, the Toys R Us by me really sucks.
There's you just don't get to do the whole shopping experience anymore.
Is it not as magical because we're older though, or is it?
It might be.
Maybe. I'm sure that's part of it, but I mean, there was something to be said for. I mean, essentially window shopping, right?
Yeah.
You don't do that anymore.
I still like the GameStop experience. I know you guys don't, but I love going into a store that's all things geek, talking to people that love video games and
are never trying to upsell you on things.
Yeah.
Never.
I don't get that often, but even with that, it's just I enjoy going to a store.
Well, that's because Ethan's the guy. They all know Ethan now, and they just know, oh god, if we start talking to him, he's going to start talking about microtransactions.
They don't have to upsell him on buying more Switch games because they know he's already.
It's true.
They just have the stack.
We set aside one of each for you, Ethan. Good to see you.
Cars 3 has 2 different covers.
You don't even have to tell us that you want to pre-order it. I already put $5 of my own money on it.
Hey, I still have not gotten Troll and I or Just Dance 2016. So
those are still on store shelves, so we got a little bit of time.
Yeah.
Is that where we should end it?
Why not?
I'm thinking.
I'm gonna go make some salads for the week. Let's do this thing.
I'm thinking yes. All right.
Me.
Alrighty, and that is our show for this week. Thank you very much for listening. If you would like to ask us a question or perhaps comment on something that you heard, you can direct that to @P1 Podcast on the Twitter. And if you don't know what Twitter is, kids, let me tell you, it's this website.
The president loves it.
That's right.
If it's good enough for the president of the United States,
it's good enough for everyone, right? Yeah. And basically that's all I'm going to say here at the end. I do want to point you to player1podcast.com/569. That'll be where our show notes are, and we'll have links to everything else there. Also, if you're listening, well, why not leave us a nice review on iTunes if you enjoyed the show at all? Like, give us a rating. That does actually help people the iTunes algorithm looks at that kind of thing. So that would be absolutely fantastic if you would leave us a review or tell a friend on Twitter that you enjoy the show, something like that. That would be really awesome. Golly gee, I'd really like it if you.
What the hell's going on?
Something like that.
Here.
Anyway, that's all I'm going to say. Phil, go ahead.
Yeah, Phil, follow that.
Follow that.
Well, shucks, CJ.
Yeah.
If you'd like to subscribe to the Player One Podcast, you can do so by visiting playeronepodcast.com or by going to the iTunes Music Store. While you're at the iTunes Music Store, you can also invest $1.99.
Cheap.
Pick up the Player One Podcast iPhone application. Gives you one-touch communication with us via the emails, the Twitters, what have you. Also have all of our episodes ready to stream right to your listen device. And hey, Android cell phone telephone users, the Player One Podcast iPhone application is available for your listen device as well for that same $1.99.
Also cheap.
You can find that right over there at the Amazon Android Marketplace. You can like us on Facebook. You can listen to us on Stitcher Radio. You can see archives of our show and watch us live most weeks on the youtubes.com/P1 podcast. And if you like what you've heard, and how could you can head over to patreon.com/P1 podcast, where you'll find a link to donate. Toss a few shekels our way. It helps keep Seward drowning in cars and
Loot boxes.
outfits for his driver avatar.
Your drivatar?
His drivatar needs new clothes, and only you can provide them, folks.
Right. Exactly.
That's the tip, kiddies.
Growing out of his old ones.
Mousies.
Watch out for the mousies.
Collect those watering cans. All right.
And if you have a couple bucks left over, head over to generation-16.com, where you'll find the Patreon link to help support Greg Stewart's outstanding web series, Generation 16, about North America's favorite runner-up, the Sega Genesis.
Thank you, Phil.
Yeah. Hopefully that new mini Genesis console will turn out to be not garbage.
No, I feel like Nintendo should actually cut a deal with Sega and do one of these for the Genesis. Wow.
That would make
sense.
sense.
Right? Wouldn't that make sense?
That would make absolute sense. It'd be better than whatever garbage Games is shoveling out.
Yep.
Yeah. I don't know. I want to be looking forward to that, but I can't bring myself to get my hopes up.
No.
Yeah. Did you see they're doing a Commodore 64 one as well?
Yes.
Yeah, they're doing a little mini Commodore, which is kind of interesting. No school days on there, though, from the looks of it. So,
any TurboGrafx ones? That would be fun.
There are no TurboGrafx games on the Commodore 64 Mini. No.
I bet you can.
I'm just saying that one would actually be perfect for core gamers, because that was the one system that a lot of people had heard of but never played.
TurboGrafx is awesome. I love my TurboGrafx.
I feel like that goes against the reason why most people go out and buy these, but I see
that. Yeah.
They buy micro consoles because they have nostalgia for it. If you release one where no one has any nostalgia for the thing, I agree with you. I would totally pick one up.
I would buy one too.
I don't think Target would be selling 60 of those out the door on day one.
No, probably not.
Year one.
Yeah, I could see 60 going in a year, maybe. Christopher!
Yeah?
Thank you so much. Whoa. bring it down there, Jackson.
Okay, sorry.
Yikes.
You said my name.
I did.
Yeah.
Thank you, CJ.
Thank you, Phil.
Thank you, CJ. Gregory.
Yo.
Thank you.
Thank you, Phil. And I want to call out real quick that it is a month and a day away from game day for Extra Life 2017. I will be streaming. My theme this year is actually, funnily enough, TurboGrafx 16.
Hey, all right.
It's the 30th anniversary of the PC Engine. So I'm going to be updating my page pretty soon.
Yeah.
As always, you can donate and select a game on the console I'll be streaming, and I'll be streaming for probably over the weekend 2 12-hour stints as opposed to a 24-hour stint, because I'm old and I never make it the full 24 hours anymore.
JJ and Jeff.
Sure, $30 donation, buddy.
You should play the Japanese version, Kato and Ken.
They've actually released leaderboards.
Kato and Ken.
They've actually released leaderboards, and I am right now the top fundraiser for the IWK Health Center here in Halifax, Nova Scotia.
Wow.
But I'm still about $8,500 away from my goal for the year. So please consider donating. Also, want to call out over the next month, I'll be putting a copy of Night Trap for the PlayStation 4 up for auction. That will also go toward Extra Life. Thank you so much to Phil for that. And if you donate, from the sounds of it, you'll be put into a raffle for at least one.
That's right. Yep.
Maybe of two, I don't know, but at least one Super Nintendo Mini.
Boom. Awesome.
Classic system. So please go donate. It's all tax deductible. But we're getting into the season now. Got a lot of money left to raise, but I know we can do it. You guys are awesome. And of course, if you want to come check out my Twitch stream, I'm raising money there twice a week, every week, Tuesdays and Thursdays at 9:30 p.m. Eastern. Come watch and donate.
Yay!
Cool. /Stewart.
Do it. Ethan.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
Jesus.
Well.
Oh, my goodness. Oh, boy. Ethan's just thinking about that He-Man aisle right now.
Yes, Phil.
Thank you for showing up, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
I guess. It's going to be nice to see you go. Because
goodbyes are always hard, Phil.
You're weirding us out. You're weirding us out, man. Yikes. Yikes. So, and I guess we'll see everybody next week. Thanks. You know what? I'm thanking Matt and Mattingly.
Yes.
Jake, the audio guy, again
for being so awesome.
And for being so awesome, for being so cool. And thanks
Gracious
again to all.
hosts.
They were. And super thanks to all the Scoops for welcoming us to their fantastic, funny world. And it was
being
super
such
cool.
a great audience.
And yeah, they were awesome. So thanks again. Scoop Fest was a blast. And we'll see everyone again next week.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.